Hello, CEO. Greetings, Executive Dean. Hi, public figure. I see you, Senior Pastor. Because you are an ambitious leader, driven by your God-given vision, I know you have been working tirelessly. You've made significant sacrifices and taken on more responsibility to fill the gaps. Perhaps gaps in human resources, funding, and/or support. Don't let your fatigue, fear, or even frustration tempt you to give up. Are you really ready to throw in the towel after all the progress you've made? Before you do, consider these tips to help you push through and continue your journey to completion. Join me in the conversation, grab your digital notebook, and let's dive in. Do you want to fully step into your calling and live out your God-inspired vision, but lack the right people and resources to help you? Hi, I'm Nicole Pride, personal branding strategist, leadership coach, and Christian. I learned the secret to advancing big leadership goals and attracting new opportunities is through intentionally elevating your personal brand. If you're ready to step into greater impact without losing your peace, then grab a protein bar, your iPad, and let's go. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. Before we dive into the topic, I'm excited to invite you to become an insider. If you like to stay connected beyond the podcast and learn how to increase your impact, build your brand, and attract recognition, resources, and support, then go to NicolePride.com/insider. Once you sign up, you'll have access to special offers for programs, services, and events. You'll also receive my newsletter and be invited to quarterly planning and prayer sessions. So get the insider info at NicolePride.com/insider. Okay, I have a story for you. A few years ago, my husband and I planned an anniversary trip. Or should I say, he planned it, because when it comes to vacations, we completely, and I mean completely, we switch gears. Normally, I'm the planner, but for trips, I just want to pack my bags and go. My husband, ordinarily the laid-back one, he takes on the planning roles when it comes to our travel and getaways. So when my husband finally sat me down to share the details for our anniversary, he started with this very long backstory, giving me all the details that I did not care to hear. He talked about fluctuating flight prices and hotel options. He is giving me his entire thought process. So naturally, I'm thinking, okay, what's up? Where are we going? But when I asked, he said, let me tell you. Then he launched into another long explanation. So at this point, I'm really getting worried. For him not to answer the question and to go on the way that he did, I must not want to go where he had already booked. So my mind jumps to the worst case scenario, and before I can stop myself, I blurt out, "The Grand Canyon?" You guessed it. I'm terrified of heights. My first thought was to just change the trip or pawn it off to one of our siblings. But then, I realized that giving into my fear would undermine what I truly wanted for our marriage, a partnership where we experience adventure and passion together. My husband is my lifelong partner, so going to the Grand Canyon was one of his life dreams. So I had to say to myself, is he not able to go because of my fear? So after I got myself together, I began to realize that this trip was actually connected to the vision that I had for us. My vision for our marriage is to have a relationship filled with adventure and passion, excitement, and new experiences. And one of our goals as a couple was to travel more. The remedy to keep moving forward is to have a bold God vision that can override your fear, frustration, disappointment, or any other obstacle that threatens to minimize your impact. When I went back to my God-centered vision, again, a relationship filled with passion and excitement, adventure, and new experiences, I was inspired to move past my fear. So today, I will give you practical guidance to help you keep going in the face of fear, fatigue, and frustration. So we're talking about today how to keep going when you feel like turning back. So I remember years ago when I led the women's retreat at my church for a few years. This was an annual event where about 1,000 women would gather with great anticipation for renewed focus, inspiration, and a deeper relationship with God. I remember the first retreat I led. The theme was Fearless Faith. Some thought the theme was the committee's way of coming up with this cute slogan for our t-shirts and promotion. Others thought we meant that because of our faith, we shouldn't feel fear. But that theme was inspired by a very personal experience where I had to fight my way through anxiety and take steps in spite of my fear, literally. So here's the thing. You have a God-sized vision. It's audacious in scope. It's audacious in impact. As you attempt to turn your vision into reality, it won't always feel comfortable. There may be a point when the journey becomes harder than you expected. And now you have to decide, what are you going to do? Going back to my anniversary story, when my husband and I were leaving Sedona to drive to the Grand Canyon, about 5 minutes into our drive, we turned left and, in a matter of seconds, found ourselves driving through a canyon. It wasn't the Grand Canyon, but it was everything that I said would be a deal breaker if we went. We were on a mountain. The road was extremely narrow and winding. I looked out of my window and I could see just a cliff on my right. The curves were so sharp that you had to slow down to about 20 miles per hour. It was horrible. What was worse, I could see all the inclines ahead. Just when I thought I was at my limit, there was another elevation ahead. So at this point, I'm holding on to the handle and pressing the imaginary brake on my side of the car every time there was a curve. It was horrible. Then I saw the steepest incline yet. The elevation was outrageous and my mind couldn't fathom how we were going to drive up that next level. And just at that moment, there was this little piece of land on the side of the road, just big enough for our vehicle. I yelled, "Pull over, pull over." At this point, I'm crying out how the experience was just too much to handle, and my husband is consoling me. Then I had to decide, was I going to turn around or was I going to keep going? I had this entire conversation in my head, and I was talking to myself. Did I really come all this way to Arizona just to go home? And if I turned around now, guess what? I would still have to travel back down the mountain. Just then, I prayed. It was more like crying out in my head. Ultimately, I said, God, you're going to have to help me. I cannot do this without you. And then something shifted. My fear turned into determination, and I was not going to sit there anymore. I yelled at my husband, just drive. I was almost mad. So we went, and just at the top of that elevation, it was over. The road opened up. There was just a local route with forests on both sides of the road. There weren't any cliffs, no winding roads, no hills, just a straight shot. All I could think was, what if I had turned around? I was so close to the end of the hardest part, and I didn't even know it. What's more, that winding narrow road with all of its cliffs was way scarier than the Grand Canyon. In fact, I had quite a wonderful experience at the Grand Canyon. I even took pictures near the edge. And if you sign up to become an insider, I'll include a picture of my bold pose at the canyon in the next issue. But now, in case you missed it, let me connect the dots for you. Here are the key takeaways. Go back to the vision. I had a deeply held vision. My vision for my marriage is what started my journey, and it helped keep me from giving up. My desire to deepen my relationship with my husband, experience new adventures, and create memories helped me not to turn around. When fear, fatigue, or frustration starts making you question whether you should continue, go back to the vision. Read the vision statement. Remember what you set out to do before you started. Think about the impact you'll make when the journey is over. Remember why this mattered enough for you to start in the first place. Number 2, cry out to the Lord. During my weakest moment, I literally called out to the Lord and He heard my cry. I didn't have some elaborate prayer. I didn't quote a bunch of scriptures. I simply said, God, you are going to have to help me. I cannot do this without you. And after I prayed, something shifted. God gave me the grace I needed not to give up when, unbeknownst to me, I was oh so close to the end of the hardest part. What a tragedy it would have been to turn around when I was that close. 3, don't make a permanent decision in the hardest part of the journey. This one is important. When I was sitting on the side of that mountain, I was making assumptions about the rest of the journey based on what I could see in front of me. Another incline, another elevation, another terrifying stretch of road. What I couldn't see was what was just beyond it. I didn't know that the road was about to open up, and neither do you. You don't know that the next mile is going to look like this one. You don't make a permanent decision based solely on the difficulty of the moment you are standing in. That doesn't mean you blindly keep doing something that isn't working. If you're hitting roadblocks, revisit your strategy, rework the plan, get wise counsel, make adjustments. You can change the plan without abandoning the vision. The route may change, the timeline may change, the people involved may change, your strategy may change. But difficulty by itself does not mean that God is telling you to abandon the vision. So this is how you move forward. First, identify what is making you want to stop. Is it fear? Are you afraid of failing? Are you afraid of the potential embarrassment or ridicule? Or are you afraid of succeeding? Are you simply exhausted? Are you frustrated because progress is taking way longer than you expected? Has something actually changed that requires you to rethink your strategy? Or are you standing in a difficult moment and allowing that moment to convince you that the entire journey was a mistake? Before you decide to give up, diagnose what is really going on. Can you live with the regret of not trying the best of your ability? Will the pain of giving up haunt you? And most importantly, have you gone back to God about the vision? There comes a time as a leader when you just have to decide and be resolute. Decide that you're going to faithfully pursue the vision that God has given you. That doesn't mean a perfect life. That doesn't mean you aren't going to fail at things. And it certainly doesn't mean everything is going to happen according to your plan. It means you're going to use your gifts, draw upon your experiences, creatively take up space in this world the best way you know how, to the best of your ability, and under the permission, blessing, and authority of God. If you are hitting roadblocks, revisit your strategy and rework the plan. As an ambitious leader, you are no stranger to challenges. You have persevered in the past. Right now may feel different because the stakes are higher. The potential impact is greater. You don't allow the difficulty of this moment to convince you that you should turn around. You may be closer than you think. Release yourself from the pressure of having to control how all of this turns out, and remember that God has you. The ending is God's. The results are God's. The outcome is God's. Your responsibility is to do the best that you know how with what you have, faithfully take the next step, and let God finish it. Hey, ambitious leader, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share with another leader who you want to encourage? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I just get so energized to know this podcast is helping you. Okay, I'm going to take one step today to let my leadership shine. What about you? God willing, meet you back next week for another episode.